As I sit in my therapist's office, I can feel my anxiety rising. The thought of sharing my struggles with someone else is almost unbearable. But I know that if I don't talk about it, I'll never get better. I've been struggling with borderline personality disorder for as long as I can remember. It's a disorder that affects my mood, my behavior, and my relationships with others. It's a constant battle, one that I feel like I'm losing most days. Growing up, I always felt like there was something wrong with me. I was never able to regulate my emotions, and I would often have intense outbursts over things that seemed trivial to others. I had a hard time making and keeping friends, and I would often feel like an outsider. As I got older, things only got worse. I started drinking and using drugs as a way to cope with my emotions, which only made things worse. I had a string of failed relationships, all of which ended in explosive fights and hurt feelings. It wasn't until I was in my late 20s that I was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. The diagnosis was both a relief and a burden. It was a relief to finally have an explanation for why I felt the way I did, but it was also a burden to know that I would be struggling with this for the rest of my life. I started seeing a therapist, but it was a long road to recovery. There were days when I felt like I was making progress, but then there were days when I felt like I was back at square one. One of the hardest things about borderline personality disorder is the way that it affects my relationships with others. I have a tendency to see things in black and white, which means that I often view people as either all good or all bad. This can make it hard to maintain relationships, as I'm quick to cut people out of my life if they do something that I perceive as hurtful. But despite all of the challenges, I'm determined to get better. I know that I have a lot of work to do, but I also know that I'm not alone in this. There are millions of people out there who are struggling with mental illness, and we're all in this together. One of the things that has helped me the most in my recovery is mindfulness meditation. It's a practice that has taught me how to stay present in the moment, to observe my thoughts and emotions without judgment. It's not a cure for borderline personality disorder, but it has given me a tool to help me cope with the intense emotions that I experience on a daily basis. I've also found support in online communities of people who are struggling with borderline personality disorder. It's been a relief to talk to others who understand what I'm going through, who don't judge me for my struggles. There are still days when I feel like giving up, when I feel like I'll never get better. But then I remind myself of how far I've come, of all of the progress that I've made. I remind myself that recovery is a process, and that it's okay to take it one day at a time. I know that I'll never be cured of borderline personality disorder, but I also know that it doesn't define me. I'm a person who struggles with mental illness, but I'm also a person who has a lot to offer the world. I have dreams and goals, and I'm determined to make them a reality. So as I leave my therapist's office and head out into the world, I do so with a sense of hope. I know that there will be challenges ahead, but I also know that I have the strength to face them. I am not my disorder, and I will not let it define me. As I step out into the bright sunlight, I feel a sense of relief. It's as if the weight of the world has been lifted off my shoulders, if only for a moment. I know that this feeling won't last forever, but I'm grateful for it nonetheless. As I make my way through the city streets, I'm struck by how vibrant and alive everything seems. It's as if I'm seeing the world in a new light, with fresh eyes. I'm reminded of all the things that I have to be grateful for, even in the midst of my struggles. As I walk, I think about all of the people in the world who are struggling with mental illness. I think about how hard it can be to ask for help, to admit that you're not okay. But I also think about how important it is to do so, how it can make all the difference in the world. I'm reminded of a quote that I once heard: "We are all just walking each other home." It's a reminder that we're all in this together, that we all need each other's help and support to make it through this life. As I approach my apartment building, I'm greeted by a group of kids playing on the sidewalk. They're laughing and shouting, completely unaware of the struggles that I'm facing. And yet, their joy is infectious. It reminds me that there is still so much good in the world, even when things seem dark. I take a deep breath and walk into my apartment, ready to face whatever comes next. I know that there will be challenges ahead, but I also know that I have the tools and the support to face them. And that, in itself, is a victory.